Hi, it's Chef Robyn. Wanted to do another cooking video for you guys since we're all kind of hanging out, being safe, staying home. The last one I did was a little bit more of a casual recipes. Tonight I want to do date night. Hopefully you'll use it this weekend or maybe even on Easter if you're just kind of hanging out with your husband. We are going to do Parmesan and lemon roasted asparagus. And we're also going to do Wagyu beef filet mignon with a whiskey cream sauce. So those are the two things we're gonna do this evening. Timing is everything, so if you do this for whoever you have in your home right now, you wanna make sure that you do the asparagus first and the filet last. You wanna make sure that your filet doesn't have to hang and wait for you. So we're gonna do our asparagus with Parmesan and lemon. So the first thing you wanna do is make sure you wait till right before you're ready to use your asparagus, and then you want to see where it snaps. That shows you where the dehydrated part is, the part you don't want to use. You'll go through and snap a few of them, but you're going to notice that they're all going to kind of equal out at the same point. This is chewy and bitter, so you don't want to use that part. You want to make sure you only use this part. Once you've got 2 or 3 done, you can just kind of go along and cut the rest of them off. I recommend doing that. Some people find it super therapeutic to break every single one of them, but we are not gonna do that. So we're just gonna cut through and get that woody part off, and then only use this other part on I'm using a Silpat on my sheet pan. If you don't have that, you can use parchment paper, whatever you got. So I'm gonna kind of line those up. We're gonna drizzle with olive oil, and then we're gonna season with some salt and pepper. So first, olive oil, just drizzling over. Now seasoning. If you watched the last video, we kind of talked about this. You wanna pinch, hold up, and season at eye level because it falls in a cone shape, so that whole dish gets seasoned exactly the same. My pinch is 1/4 of a teaspoon, so I know exactly how much is going on. You can see how that falls in a cone shape, so everything's seasoned exactly the same. So we're gonna do that with our pepper and our kosher salt. Back up and letting that fall so that the whole dish is seasoned evenly. Next thing we're gonna do, since this is a date night dinner for 2, I'm gonna kind of push it into 2 little bunches, and then I'm gonna add 2 pieces of lemon. Underneath that lemon, I'm gonna put a little bit of butter, and that will just kind of make it extra savory, and it will be really nice and flavorful. So we're gonna do that. Underneath that, we're gonna do some shredded Parmesan, so just kind of pile that on. That is gonna go in a 400-degree oven for about 12 minutes. And I say about because it kind of depends on how thick your asparagus is. If you've got thin asparagus, kind of like what I've got, it might only take about 8 minutes for that to be cooked. Thicker asparagus, because you can get some really fat ones, it could take a little bit more than that. So kind of use your fork as your judge, and as soon as it's fork tender, it's done. So we're gonna put it in 400 degrees. I'm thinking about 10 to 12 minutes. And then we will check it with a fork. There we go. In the oven it goes. All right, we're gonna work on our next dish, which is going to be our Wagyu filet mignon with whiskey cream sauce. We have these beautiful fillets from Plum Creek Wagyu in Seward, Nebraska. I am super excited about using them this evening for our date night recipes. You can see the marbling on them is amazing. So for those of you who have been to my class, I talk about prime fillets. Prime fillets are 2% of the fillets that you can find in the United States. This is a level above that. So super buttery, super tender. And if you decide that you want to use these for your fillets this weekend or whenever, at the bottom of this video, you're actually going to see a promo code that says Chef Robyn, all in caps. And with that, you're going to get 15% off of your fillets. And you're also going to, if you depending on how much you purchase, you can get free delivery. They deliver in Seward and in the whole Lancaster County. So it's great if you don't want to leave your home, but you want some beautiful fillets. So I'm extremely excited about using their fillets tonight. So first thing we're gonna do with our beautiful Wagyu fillets is we're gonna season them. So we're gonna season them with salt and pepper. That is however you like to season them. So you may see that I season them maybe a little bit lightly on the salt and a little heavy on the pepper. So it's whatever you like. But I'm gonna add a little pepper in there. And then we'll season both sides. We're also gonna add a little bit of rosemary. Anytime you're working with an herb, you wanna pull the opposite way that the leaf grows. So the leaf grows up, so you wanna pull down when you're taking those leaves off. We've talked in the last class about how to hold your knife, 3 fingers under and then pinching. So we are going to roll right through that and cut that rosemary nice and fine. Anytime you're mincing, you may go a second time, pinching here and going over so you can get a finer mince. If you want to, you can mix this with your pepper when you're adding that to your filet, or you can add it at the end. Either way is good, but you just want to make sure you have that on there. So I'm going to press that in because I want that nice and flavorful. So I'm going to turn it over, do the same thing on the other side. Salt, pepper, and then some more rosemary. And like I said, if you want to mix it together before you press it on, that's just great. Okay, I love working in a cast iron pan, so that's what we're gonna do this evening. I have olive oil and I actually have ghee in here also. You'll see that a lot of the recipes that I write, I use ghee instead of regular butter. The reason I do that, the smoke point of regular butter is 350 degrees. The smoke point of ghee is 485 degrees. So it doesn't smoke quite as fast, and so I like to use that when I'm doing my fillets. So we're gonna add our fillets in. My husband and family like their fillets medium rare. That's 140 degrees, usually 3 to 4 minutes per side, and I say usually depending on how thick your fillets are. It can take a little bit longer if you've got thicker fillets, a little bit less if you've got thinner fillets. So obviously 3 minutes per side, start flipping and start temping it out to see where you're at. So once your cast iron pan is nice and hot, if you're not sure if it's hot, you can take a little bit of water, flick it in, and as soon as that becomes nice and sizzling, then you know that your pan is ready for you. But I can already tell that it is because I can actually see that my oil is shimmering. So I'm actually gonna add my fillets in. You can kind of hear it sizzling a little bit. And we're gonna kind of hang out 3 minutes, and then we'll flip them over, and then we'll start temping them out. All right, it's been about 3 minutes on the first side, so we're gonna go ahead and flip them. Beautiful, love it. So we're gonna flip them on the second side and let them cook for about another 3 to 4 minutes. In case some of you don't know exactly what I'm talking about as far as ghee or clarified butter is something else that you might see it on the label be called. It is when they take the butter and they take off the milk fat. Because they do that, it lets the smoke point come up from 350 to 485. So if you've got someone who's dairy intolerant or isn't doing any of that dairy, in general, ghee is a great friend. It's shelf stable. It can stay on your stovetop. You don't have to refrigerate it, so it's nice to use. So I like to use it because I love the fact that there's less smoke point for it. So here we go, another 3 minutes. All right, so these have been cooking about 3 to 4 minutes on the first side, and then on the second side, we are now at 140, so I need to let them rest. Because when you let them rest in the foil, they raise 5 degrees, they also relax. So it just makes them a much more tender fillet to eat at the end. And so we are going to turn the burner off and then lay them in some foil. The reason we wouldn't just lay this in on a plate and then foil it is because all the juices will also relax in there, and for plating, much prettier if you let them relax in the foil than letting them relax on a plate. So we're gonna lay those in our foil and let them hang out while we do our sauce. All right, so we're just gonna hang out. It's gonna be 5 minutes or so before the sauce is done. All right, our fillets are resting, and this is a great time to do your whiskey cream sauce. So we have 3/4 of a cup. I'm gonna make sure my burn is on. 3/4 of a cup of beef broth. Add that in, and then just a little bit of pepper, half a teaspoon, and we're gonna whisk that in. We wanna reduce that by half before we add the rest of our ingredients. And as you're kind of whisking that and letting that reduce, you're kind of letting those nice little bits from the bottom from your filet come up and flavor your sauce. So you definitely want to make sure you don't miss out on any of that. So this will take a couple minutes to reduce in half. All right, so this is reduced to a little over 1/3 of a cup. That's what we want the first part of the sauce to reduce to. We're gonna add in a 1/2 cup of cream, and we're gonna add a 1/2 ounce of whiskey. I recommend Jim Beam, anything you got. Doesn't have to be super expensive. Actually, the more expensive the whiskey is, sometimes it can add too much flavor to it. So if you've got some Jim Beam around right now or anything comparable to that, that's a great thing to add in. We're also gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of a grainy mustard into it. And then we're gonna let that reduce to the point that we consider it done. I consider it done when it is, the word is nappe. When it becomes nappe, I will dip my spoon into that sauce, pull it out, and it coats the back of the spoon. You can actually run your finger through the center of your spoon and it holds. Any chef that is doing a sauce, that's what they're looking for, is for it to become nappe. If you go beyond that, you're gonna break your sauce. So what we're looking for right now is to figure out that point of nappe, dipping it in, pulling it out, pulling your finger through, it's nappe, stop. Don't go any further than that. So right now we're gonna add in our cream. Beautiful. We're gonna add a little bit of our grainy mustard into it, and our 1/2 ounce of whiskey. You want to whisk this to begin with, and you want to make sure it is boiling. Look at the color now, really nice and light. At the end, it's going to be deep and dark and rich. So if you're not sure where your sauce is at, kind of remember how nice and light it is now. And at the end, you're going to see this beautiful deepening in the color. So I'm just going to keep whisking. 2 ways that you can tell that it's nappe. You can tell by dipping your spoon in, like I mentioned, and pulling your finger through, seeing that the sauce is holding. The other way that we're gonna notice that it's becoming nappe is actually as it cooks down, you're gonna whisk through and it's gonna hold. It's gonna open up. It's not gonna fill back in. That is also nappe. So if you don't have a spoon close by, you might be checking your sauce just by your whisk and noticing how it opens up and doesn't fill back in. So this will take a couple minutes of whisking, but you can already tell, look at the difference in color just in that minute or so that we've been cooking the sauce. It's already becoming nice and rich in color. So we are definitely close. You do want to make sure that you're continually whisking your sauce as you go, but you're going to get to a point where it's going to start opening up. And then you're also going to use that spoon to kind of pull in to see where you're at. But this is twice the color that it was when it began. It is definitely, and every single 30 seconds it's becoming richer and richer and richer in color. So you don't want to walk away, just keep it up. We're really close. Oh, so here it is, opening up. So we're gonna need our spoon to kind of tell that it is nice and nappe, but your whisk is already kind of telling you that you're there. Look when I whisk through, see what's happening? It's pulling, it's opening. It's telling you that sauce is absolutely beautiful. Look what's happening when I pull the spoon out. Nice and thick. Beautiful. This is when you want to stop. We're there. Look at it scraping, not filling in. This is the sauce that you want for your filet. Turning it off. You don't want to go any further than this. If you go further than this, it's going to break. So we've got a beautiful whiskey cream sauce at this point. The only thing that we're going to finish with is a little bit of butter. So this is just going to add to that creaminess. So a tablespoon of butter, you're just going to stir that through. So look at the richness of this sauce from when it began. It was just pretty much a cream color, and now you've got this deep, rich brown. As you pull your spoon through, you can see that it's nice and thick. So this is exactly what we want to see in a beautiful sauce. And even with this, see how I spiral through the sauce and it doesn't fill in? This is a perfect sauce. So when you're trying to figure out if your sauce is done, you should be able to spiral through it and it doesn't fill in. That means you've got this beautifully creamy sauce that you're gonna add to your filet or whatever you're making. We're gonna add one little extra thing. We're growing chives right now, so we're gonna garnish with a little bit of chives. If you didn't see my first video about how you should cut, my favorite knife is a global knife. When you grip a knife, it should be 3 fingers and pinching, no putting your finger on top of the blade. So making sure that you keep it down and pinching it hard enough that you could hold it with just those 2 fingers if you needed to. So we want to add some chives to the top of our filet. So we're going to make sure that tip of the knife does not leave the cutting board. We're going to move away from our body, not towards, rocking through. Beautiful. So we're going to add those to our filet at the end to finish that color. We're ready to plate. All right, so we have finished our date night dinner. Super excited can't wait to taste and enjoy this Wagyu beef with the whiskey cream sauce and our Parmesan and lemon roasted asparagus. You'll notice that I kind of added a little extra touch to the plates. I just chopped some parsley and added it around the outside, just kind of adds a little extra touch to the dinner. Put those chives on top of the filet and it is done. You guys can do this. Cheers to you. Stay home, be safe, enjoy a nice date night this weekend. Love you guys.